Morning guys, and welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast. Today we're joined by John MacDonald, brother of the fire service. Absolutely love this guy. We've had some crazy adventures. Rich, this is your first time meeting John today.
Yeah, so how are you today, John?
Yeah, good, thanks. It's been a nice, exciting journey coming up. Wondering what's going to be talked about, but I'm looking forward to this.
It's a hell of a drive up, brother. Really appreciate you coming up. Now, you've been in the fire service for far longer than myself or Rich. We wanted to get you down just to talk about your feelings because you're massive into your fitness and you've had some serious adventures both personally and in the fire service. I mean, how long have you been in the fire service now?
I joined the fire service in '96. I joined as an on-call or retained firefighter as they were back in the day.
I always remember it was retained as well.
Yeah, it was retained.
And it's only been rebranded like the last year or so, hasn't it?
So I did that. I've always been a try before you buy type of person. So rather than throw myself lock stock into a full-time career, I tried part-time, did that for a year and then applied them through the whole time recruitment process, and then I went to training school and all that sort of stuff and been a full-time employee, if you like, since 1997 something.
So you've done like 23 years nearly.
24 years I've done, yeah.
So you've seen a lot of change as well, I'd imagine, in the fire service.
Yeah, I've seen an awful lot of change for the better, and I've seen an awful lot of change for change's sake, which is not necessarily the best way forward, I don't think.
Yeah, change for change's sake. Sometimes it's a little bit of like a rebranding tool, just sometimes a little bit of self-promotion. Yep. Sometimes there is some tangible benefits come out of it, but I know what you're saying. Sometimes it feels like we're trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, it always kind of happens, particularly when you get changes of management tier structures and what have you. Someone new will come in and they'll try and put their stamp on it, and then there's often a slight change in direction and so on and so forth with no real rationale behind it. So it kind of does upset that apple cart a little bit, but there's a lot of good that does come out of it, to be fair.
And I suppose you have a really unique lens to look at it because you weren't a spring chicken when you joined the fire service. You weren't 17 when you joined the fire service. Let's put it that way. You had a rich background before it. So people like myself came in when they were 18. Yeah. So I didn't never know any different. I did some various jobs in other areas of life, but you actually had quite some different elements of careers before.
Yeah, I mean, at 17, I was in the army at 17, and I left.
Did you join at 17 in the army?
Yeah, I joined at 17. I joined the army to get away from a difficult domestic situation. Really.
Okay.
But I left the army in '91 after the Gulf War, and took a job with an engineering company, which was supported by the qualification that I gained whilst I was in the army.
That's good.
But I hated it. I was earning an awful lot of money for other people.
Yeah.
And I was literally taking my work home, thinking about it all night, and just one day I'd had enough, and I went and took 4 years off and went and unwound for 4 years.
Crikey.
And it got to a point after probably about 3 years, I thought I need to start looking at bringing some money back in and getting myself sorted out. So that's when I looked at non-profit making businesses, if you like. Oh. And the fire service is something that I'd kind of been interested in. So I went for an on-call or retained job in my local fire station and got it and loved it. I lived just too far away from the fire station to make the first pump all the time.
That is the whole thing. People don't remember that about on-call because, you can be interrupted with your family and stuff like that. But it becomes a race amongst colleagues, doesn't it? Because everyone's trying to make that first pump.
And that's it. It was literally, you were almost racing and,
obviously following all of
driving excessively, and you think you shouldn't be doing this. And I knew, we were lucky in my service that there was a whole time recruitment campaign coming up. So, I just knuckled down, went through the process, luckily passed it all, and I've never looked back, really.
So, when people think of different careers and stuff like that, they can think military, fire service, paramedics. You said you were straight in the military at 17.
Yeah. Had
you ever thought about the fire service back then, or obviously you say you went into the military to sort of escape an environment, but why the military? What made you want to choose that particular road?
Okay, so very long story short, my parents split up, and I was between the two and other places, and I needed some stability. Yeah. And my plan was to get myself qualified And the best way to get qualified with a roof over my head and get paid to get qualified was join the army. So I looked at all.
When you say qualified, do you just mean any career in any way, shape, or form?
I've always had in my sort of bias in schooling was towards problem solving, technical drawing, physics, and so on and so forth. So it was engineering that interested me. So I remember one day when I was in Doncaster, I walked down the high street and went into every single careers office, every single one from the top of the high street all the way down.
That doesn't surprise me with you, because I know you're relentless kind of guy.
Just went from one to the other to the other to the other, and the first ones that came back to me with the army, and then went away, did some selection tests, and the selection tests that you do are the same for all regiments. It's just the scoring that you get on your selection tests will allow you to then pitch in for different regiments, for example.
For anybody, I don't know what is the selection testing? Is it different then to now? Or
I couldn't tell you what it is now.
What was it back then?
There was a lot of psychometric testing, spelling, grammar, and there's a few other bits and pieces as well. But it was a long time ago, you know.
What about the physical side of it? Because I imagine there's a physical as well for it.
The physical is not too dissimilar to what it is now. The only thing is now, I should imagine there's probably a lot softer an approach towards it in terms of the way people are spoken.
I've certainly found that in the fire service personally. You know, the differences in behaviours, some for the better, some for the worse, but it has a different outcome. You know, it has a different. People come into the service, as I don't know if they do or don't with the military, with a different outlook on expectation of standards of behaviour and work ethic, and having that relentless attitude to keep going has to be harnessed, has to be sort of nurtured, doesn't it, a little bit?
Yeah. If you look at some of the programs that have been on television recently and over past years about, you know, military training, and even Bad Lads Army a few years ago, it's about breaking the individual down and then building them back up to be the attribute that the organisation wants.
I love that analogy, breaking them down.
Yeah, but it's good though. You look at yourself and you think, I've got this amount of potential, but in actual fact, there's so much more potential in everyone.
Yeah.
And it just needs to be unlocked. And it's finding the key to unlock that potential. And it could be, speaking to someone softly. It could be, beasting someone. It could be throwing a whole load of F's into that. It could be anything. It could be it could be a mixture of all of them. It's about getting the.
So how was your potential unlocked then? How do you feel?
Well, I used it to escape from something, and but what I do throughout my life is I give myself challenges, and not necessarily against other people. It's just a challenge to do something, whether it's just to walk a little bit further or to do an extra set of something. It's just these little challenges. So when I joined the army. I can't remember how many people there were. There's probably 40, 50, 60 that joined when I joined, and maybe 25 finished. But I always looked at the other people in my squad and came to the realization that they're doing the exact same as me. They're feeling the same as me. They are under the same stress as me, the same pressures, the same physical demands and mental demands. And I just looked at the other people and thought, well, if they're doing it, then I can do it. But I'm not going to be the one that drops off the end first. Yeah. And then each day, I'm not going to be the one that drops off the end.
Yeah, because somebody's dropping off.
Someone's always dropping off.
It's always
it's
dropping
not going
off.
to be me.
Yeah.
And you just push yourself forward, and you unlock so much. And as you progress physically and mentally, your potential increases exponentially. It's huge.
I love what you say there about it's not necessarily competing against anybody else, like you were saying about you always want to do one more set, you always want to set yourself a challenge. It's the perfect competition, isn't it? You versus you.
Yeah.
Because there's always more. Always more. And I think people are motivated in different ways. Do you think the military attracts people that want to better themselves, or do you think it attracts people that want to be better than somebody else? What did you find there was more of in your sort of intake?
Or do you think
experience?
it's more people trying to escape, trying to run away?
Right, it's a mix of all three, if I'm honest. I was conscious of the fact there were always people that were trying to shine above everybody else.
Yeah.
and there were a lot of, if you like, people escaping, the easy route, if you like, even though it's not an easy route.
No, yeah, but I appreciate what you're saying. Yeah.
But it's a mixture, and I think that's that eclectic mix in the military. Certainly, when I joined, makes it such a great place to work. I mean, a military career. If you joined at 17, you'd be retired at 39 if you did your full career.
39 retirement. It's mad, isn't it?
22 years, full career.
Yeah.
And where I work now, I work on a military base, and I drive into work every day, and I see people of all ranks, and not one single one of those personnel on that camp was in the military when I was. Correct. They all joined after.
Yeah.
And that spurs me on. I see people day in, day out at work doing basic fitness tests, combat fitness tests on normal PT and so on and so forth. And I've done all that. Yeah. And it makes me smile, and it makes me laugh to the point where I think...
Bit nostalgic.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And
but I don't think you would have wanted to retire at 39. I've gone to knowing you a little bit better, and I think... Because I think in general, retirement can be a dangerous thing. And hear me out, because I don't mean transitioning into a different phase of your life, because that's fantastic. But I mean, as we commonly speak about retirement, it can be spoken of that, can't wait to retire so I can sit at home and do nothing, or so I can X, Y, Z. I think that's a really scary place to be. And I think had your career have come to an end for any number of reasons, you would have, as you have done, you would have found something else to move on to and another challenge in that same sort of you versus you.
Yeah. I mean, analogy. Retirement for me is, I could have retired 3.5 years ago, I think it is, and I'm still there because I still love it. And you're right. You've got the rest of your life to take time off. You've got the rest of the life to go on holiday. This lockdown has shown me that you need to maximise your time.
Yes.
And then be productive. I will always do something. When my time comes to leave the fire service, I will always do something. It will probably be fire related. We were talking earlier about some of the combat challenges and fitness challenges. Yes. I will still be doing those. You will still see me, even if I pull up in a wheelchair.
Absolutely, brother.
I'll still be there. So it's about being busy. Healthy mind, healthy body.
I love that aspect of it, the healthy mind, healthy body approach to it. Because you say about doing these fitness challenges, and we'll speak a little bit about the British Firefighter Challenge and some of the fire service stuff, but you were always pushing yourself physically way before these, because I know you've got a little bit of a powerlifting background, you've got a bit of a bodybuilding background. What was your first fitness love, if you know? Did you play sports as a kid?
Well, yeah. So when I was a kid, because my parents were, my dad worked away from home. We were based in Scotland. My dad worked in England, and that was one of the reasons why things kind of went wrong. But I was pushed into a swimming club when I was younger, and I hated it.
Hate's a strong word.
I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, walk across the housing estate, in the dark for about 30 minutes, then get in a van, then be driven to the swimming pool, and train for an hour and a half, and then drive back, and then do a day's schooling, and so on and so forth. And that's because my parents wanted me to be a swimmer, me and my brother. My brother was always better than me at it, but the competition wasn't between me and him.
Older brother, is it?
No, younger. He's a couple of years younger than me. But it was because I was pushed into doing it. It's like when people are forced to eat vegetables that they don't like, and they never want to eat them again. So I suppose if you're led into something versus choosing it of your own volition. Yeah. So I swam fairly well when I was at school. Went through to Scottish schools. The highest placing I got there was second. And then
in all of the Scottish schools championships, so the collective.
Yeah.
So you were doing really well at it. To be fair, then.
It was
because swimming's very, very, very competitive.
Yeah, I was trained by a lady. I can't remember her name now. I think her name was Margaret Craig. She was a backstroker, and my main stroke was breaststroke. And again, I was pushed and pushed and pushed. But as soon as it came to stop swimming, I didn't have to swim. I didn't swim.
Yeah.
But then when you've got an attribute like that, you kind of tend not to lose it. You lose a lot of the skill and the strength and the power. Yeah. But you still have the basics there. So when I joined the army, I started swimming in the army for the squadron, then the regiment, and then the army.
I imagine you were head and shoulders above a fair few of them when you started.
It was great. I didn't really train.
No.
I just went and swam and won and stuff, and it was kind of great. So but then one of the things that I did, I started lifting weights when I was in the army. There was a guy that I joined training with, a guy called Ben Lemoy, and I always remember him. He was probably about 5'2". Chinese origin, and if you took his head off and put Arnold Schwarzenegger's head on, that's exactly what his body looked like.
Really?
He was colossal.
Wow.
He was about 21 years old or something like that.
Crikey. So we started, especially at that height.
Yeah,
we hold muscle well at that height, don't you?
Yeah, and
you're built for squatting and deadlifting and stuff.
It was inspirational. So a friend of mine got me into training. And we go over to the camp gym. Then we started training at Gordon's gym in Chatham, which was a great place. And we just trained and trained and trained. And I was all right, I was getting there. I was never a big lifter in terms of strength, but I just seemed to build my physique quite naturally in a way that I didn't have to work on any weak points.
Yeah.
And then I competed.
So was it more initially for you, was it the look, or did you want the strength, or what made you want to keep lifting? Because it can be very addictive, but people get bitten by the bug in different ways. Yeah,
well, it wasn't necessarily the strength, because being in the military, you're always running.
Yes.
You kind of, every day you're out for a run, or you're out for a tab, so tactical advance to battle, so you've got kit on your back, and then off you go for...
Which for anyone that's not done it is a whole different kind of cardio, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see marathon runners, I can do 10 miles. Right, now put 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 80 pounds on your back. Yeah. Now run 1 mile.
It's completely different. And one thing I learned about that, it wasn't until after I'd left the military, was about how important your gait was in terms of your footfall. Because one of the biggest problems that people suffer with in the military is shin splints. Right. And then when I was getting ready for a bodybuilding comp, I was doing a lot of walking. My shins were in agony.
Really?
So I had my gait analysis done, changed my shoes, shin splints went.
Really?
Yeah. So kind of learning all the time as you go along. So I competed. I did a lot of bodybuilding competitions. I
actually on stage professionally, but
Yeah, well, not professionally, but because they're all amateur competitions.
Because that's pretty petrifying. Whether it's boxing, bodybuilding. I mean, I know Rich does a lot of fighting. I've got a massive amount of respect for anybody that's willing to get out on a public stage and demonstrate their skills, whether it be aesthetically, physically. It's
this is something I'm interested in. So as a martial artist, we have to cut a lot of weight for fights, and it's very similar in bodybuilding, isn't it? Yeah. How does a bodybuilder how do you cut weight for competition? What's the secrets, should I say?
Right. Okay. There are so many different ways that you can do it. Some right and some not as right. Okay. Now I would never say some are wrong. It depends what you want to achieve. If you want to lose weight without losing muscle mass, the best way to do it would be, I would suggest, the way that I did it was, so I put a heart rate monitor on for a month, and I diarised every single thing I did for every single day, and I worked out the calories that I did for each one of those days. So then when it came to dropping weight to go into a calorie deficit, I just looked at what my activity would be on that day, looked at the calories that I had on the day in the previous month, and then took 500 off. Okay.
Really, really healthy way. I think a lot of people forget the level of discipline. When they speak to a coach or when they speak to somebody can take you so far. So even your example there, you've laid out a fantastic example. But if somebody said, I'm going to do what John's done. John, can you do that for me? You can't do a lot of that for somebody. No. People forget there's no magic key. You're still going to have to do a lot of work. Yeah. You're going to have to diarise all of that.
But what works for me is not going to work for you or you.
Because yours, Rich, is fast weight cuts sometimes, aren't they? Some fighters do.
Yeah, sometimes we do like water retention. So we do a lot of water loading and then cut the water that way. But what you just mentioned there is quite a scientific approach, really, isn't it? I mean,
but there is a water loading at the end, though.
Yeah.
Water, because what you will do is you drop maybe 6-8 pounds in 2 days.
Yeah.
And you need to be dry. You don't want the drier the muscle, the more fibrous it looks.
Yeah.
So the better the the appearance on
Yeah,
stage.
the
You don't
aesthetic
want
of it, yeah.
you don't want a big round smooth muscle.
Yeah. Whereas
So,
you're not really fussed about the aesthetic. Yours, you want the power, don't you? So you've got to try and hold as much muscle.
Yeah, so
cut the
ours is
weight.
more, say, you could be walking around 80, 85 kilos, but you probably want to fight at 70 kilos. So you're trying to lose hell of a lot of weight, but within the weight cut the day before, within a 24-hour period, we're hoping to put about 6, 7, 8, sometimes 9 kilos back on.
That's like a stone. That's
Yeah, it's
massive.
a lot. It's a lot of
I
weight.
just can't
Yeah.
get my head around that. Whereas aesthetically, from a bodybuilder's perspective, bringing so much water into the stage would just blow all of your work out of the water.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember a competition where I was standing at the back of the stage when they were bringing athletes out to do comparisons, and I just looked down and there was a bead of sweat in between my pecs,
Yeah.
and I was devastated, absolutely devastated that had cut that moisture
You'd still
left
not
in me.
done it, yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
So what were your water cutting methods? Because you've spoken about suits and saunas and stuff like that.
Yeah, well,
Rich.
ours is more water loading, and as the days go by, you cut your water out. But then ultimately, you're then going to sweat it out. So it's your saunas, your bags, lots of light cardio, just keep a sweat moving. But I imagine it's very different to.
See, I'll do it slightly differently, and even for competitions that I'll be taking part in, in the coming years, I will probably water load. So if I needed to lose maybe 3 kilos, for example, for a weigh-in on a Sunday, I would start my water loading on a Monday the previous.
Wow, so a long way before.
With maybe 4 litres of water, and work all the way up till Saturday mid-afternoon by drinking 10 litres of water.
10 litres.
So taper that up over the week.
Yeah.
And also increase my vitamin C as well, bringing that up to 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C on.
What does the
Saturday.
vitamin C play a role in for people?
It just helps shift it. It might, for me, it also keeps me healthy and keeps my immune system taking over just nicely.
Yeah, because you can run yourself into a real, when we talk about deficits from calories, pushing your body that low has a real effect on the immune system.
Yeah.
But I mean, 10 litres, that's, for people that know, that's 18 pints. That's 18
horrible.
pints a day. That's a lot.
Yeah. And it gets to a point where you're kind of drinking all the time.
Yeah.
You start going to the toilet all the time and so on, and it kind of gets a little bit tedious. You become fatigued because you're up during the night.
Yeah.
But come the mid Saturday afternoon, you stop drinking. Your body's mainly water anyway.
Yep.
And it will only hold a certain amount of water. And the more water you put in, the more water the body tries to shift.
Yeah, because it gets into the habit of flushing the system, because it assumes you're going to keep feeding it, and it gets into the habit, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you come to the mid-Saturday afternoon, your body doesn't realise that you're going to stop drinking, so it still tries to shift. So it's pushing, and by the time it realises that you haven't had a drink, it's kind of too late for your body. You've dried out. You've gone from clear urine to straw coloured.
It's a bit like cutting a credit card on somebody that's got loads of direct debits going out,
Yeah,
and they've got loads and loads and loads. They don't realise you've stopped putting the money in, and they go, "Oh shit, there's no money." You know what I mean? And then they're a whole world of rubbish. But I mean, that can be quite dangerous as well, can't it? Because we know stories of bodybuilders who have collapsed on stage. But even with the fighting world, you've seen some serious things with some fighters getting into a bad.
The biggest problem is the weight cut.
Yeah,
it's the weight cut, and it does the danger. It's not necessarily the fighting in the cage in the ring. A lot of the deaths come through the weight cut.
Do you think that's because there's such a lesser, get my words right, focus on the nutritional stuff? There's less support. I mean, there's lots of striking coaches, grappling coaches, so the fighting done a little bit safer. But
the weight classes need to change within our martial arts world, but it's more education, because a lot of the people that are cutting weight, they don't really know the science behind it.
Yeah.
So it's literally just try and lose as much weight as fast as possibly can.
However you can
in a
do
short period of time. Yeah. And a lot of them are getting dehydrated. They have all sorts of problems.
Yeah, because we've spoken about some natural physical sides of doing stuff there. But I mean, from my world, when I used to speak to a few competitors in different worlds, bodybuilding, fighting, stuff like that, there's lots of diuretics out there. They were hitting winstrolls and clenbuterol and things like that, and even things like white wine. Whilst we don't think of it as a drug. Have you ever seen people experiment with white wine?
Yeah. That was what I would do.
Okay.
On the Saturday evening, before a Sunday competition, I would have a 14% dry white wine.
There you go.
And because I hadn't had a drink for months and months and months, so
Yeah.
you need to maximise the effects on all accounts.
I bet you'd be
And
smashed
I
on that,
would measure it out, so I'd have exactly half of the bottle. So with a high carb, high protein, medium fat meal the evening before, and I'd even drink the wine out of a mixing jug just because that's what I'd measured it into, and so on and so forth.
I bet that was a great image.
That would help dehydrate me. And then in the morning, when I woke up with my steak and potato and whatever, the other half bottle. So anything that was left in me
on the day, half bottle in the morning. And it must make you feel a little bit woozy as well.
Oh yeah, really lightheaded and
must make you feel good as well, I imagine.
But you talk about standing up there in front of all these people. Kind of a lot of the time, for me, I'd had a drink.
Yeah.
I wasn't drunk. I'd had a drink. So drinking does.
Yeah, a little bit euphoric and a little bit.
But then I'll have a few whiskies or a brandy or something before you go on.
Really?
Just to help. Yeah.
Was that purely just for the confidence boost, or was that more for the
Dutch courage?
No, just help drop that little bit extra out whilst eating cream eggs and things. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
and then let's talk after. I mean, for both of you, I'd be really interested to hear. But post fight, I mean, that must be, or post comp, as well. That must be messy. I mean, the eating.
I've made some big mistakes.
Oh, really?
Doing that.
You can make yourself very poorly through doing that, can't you?
I remember one competition where in Great Yarmouth, I'd competed. It was a particularly hard show. I was lots of call-outs. I placed third, got a trophy, and then clothes on, straight across the road to the pub, beer and a packet of crisps.
Right.
Okay, so no real nutrition whatsoever, I wasn't very well at all. But my favourite thing to do after a competition would have been to eat the biggest pizza you could possibly get.
Pizzas.
And then have a few beers.
It's like universal food, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just
it's got everything in it. Everything in it.
So what's interesting, when you're doing your competition, obviously you train all year round, but when you've got a date, how many weeks out before you really get into it?
16
weeks.
Yeah.
And what's the process then? Is
4 months.
Is it broke down into?
So I would look at see how I would do it. For me or any of my clients I'd take a fat measurement.
Yep.
Measure my fat and then work out.
Do you do that with calipers and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've got some really good calipers.
Because calipers, just to come off subject briefly, it is a very scientific process. You have to do it a couple of times, and to do it right, it can take about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You hear your local PT going, "Oh, do your caliper testing with some plastic piece of calipers off Amazon." You have to have them calibrated.
Yeah, mate.
It's not as people go. It's a bit of a trick when people, "I've got a pair of calipers," and get them out and pinch your belly under your arm.
Yeah.
There's I think it's 7 or 13 points you should be testing it at. And again, you have to have these. These are scientific pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
For people to go, "Oh, did you calibrate?" You probably did. It was worthless. Your PC did a little trick in front of you, and it meant nothing really.
I think with me with calipers, I'll put me and calipers aside for a moment. But for other people, it's the same as body mass index.
Yeah.
It's relative, and that's all. It's just a measurement.
Yeah.
As long as the measurement's done in the same places, same places by the same person, then if you improve, you improve. If you don't improve, you haven't improved. And it's what people want. They want some gauge of how they're progressing. For me, I would measure myself at the beginning and then identify what fat percentage I needed to be at, usually about 8, where I would probably try and get 7.5 to 8, and then just work out how many kilograms of fat mass I had to lose. Then work that out over the 16 weeks and then work out how many calories deficit I'd need to be on, whether it be 350, 400, and that would change as I got closer and closer to the competition. So I might drop out, like 70 calories for the last week. I mean, I remember the last competition that I did. The only thing that I dropped out of my diet for the last 2 weeks was I used to always have half a teaspoon of tomato and chili ketchup with fish and potatoes for 2 meals a day.
Nice.
2 of the meals, and I just dropped the ketchup out because of the sugar and salt.
The sugars, sugars
and
and any
that was all I dropped out.
And
I think I dropped about 7 pounds running up to showtime. There was some water.
People forget it is as methodical as that, but just talking about that percentage side of things, you talk about 8%, 10%. Some people might hear that and go, "What? A tenth of your body is fat?" But people forget. Most people in society, let's talk about normal. Normal is a very flexible word, but normal people are walking around at 20, 30. Some of the people we consider to be obese in our society can be far higher than that.
Yeah.
People have a very strange interpretation of how much body fat percentage they're probably holding. Not that it matters for some, but
I think one of the big things for me when you see people who are carrying fat mass, and someone will even say he or she is fat. Well, he or she isn't fat. He or she is carrying fat.
Yeah.
Okay, they are not fat. They're a human being
Yes.
which is carrying fat. What we can do is we can use that fat as an energy source to allow them to function daily, to make them healthier. So drop them into a calorie deficit, and it can be something as simple as, I'll give you an example. When I was getting ready for my last competition, which was cancelled, every morning I would have one cup of coffee with 1 sugar in it. I just dropped the sugar out.
Yeah.
And that was enough to kickstart the
marginal
weight loss.
gains.
Yeah.
It's all about margin.
And
tightening
then
that
you don't
ratchet.
notice. You don't think you're being tortured by not having all these things that you have day in, day out. And it might be that, if you have a Sunday dinner and you have, say, for example, 5 roast potatoes, you have 4.
Yeah.
And that is it. It's not. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about.
I think if you
enjoying it.
swing the pendulum too far too fast, it's not sustainable. When people use that marginal gains approach, I always think the analogy of like tightening a ratchet. You do it 1 click at a time. Okay, it's tight for a few days, and then you don't notice it, and then you click it again. It's like when you put the old story of putting a frog into boiling water. Put it into boiling water, it jumps straight out. But you put a frog into cold water and slowly heat it up, and the frog will die because it won't realise that marginal difference. And if you make those small changes, like your analogy, 1 potato less for 4 or 5 days, right, and then take your sugar out in the morning for 4 or 5 days. If you try and swing the pendulum too far, you lose a lot of those anchors in your life.
Yeah.
Where, I always woke up in the morning, I always have my coffee with sugar. Right, I stopped doing that. Right, but I also have cornflakes. Right, stop doing cornflakes. You need to do oats. You swung it too far, and people are wandering around in a world that is completely foreign to them, and they miss holding on to that habitual thing.
Yeah.
It has to be a slow change.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
and your body has to get used to it. You need to get used to it physically and mentally. You can't just have these drastic changes and be expected to function normally. It just doesn't work.
No.
But small incremental changes, you won't notice.
No.
You will notice the benefits, but you won't notice the negative effects that you had perceived.
No. And to take it to an extreme, the very few times that does work is when somebody struggles with some form of very damaging addiction, and they're put in isolation. When people go to these rehab clinics and stuff like that, we use it as an extreme. But sugar and caffeine and things like that, many of these are as destructive as some of the other drugs out there. But when people try and go through a massive life change with something like that, we recognise that they have to do it in isolation. But if you try to change your entire world and continue to operate in society, you are going to struggle. Really going to struggle, and you're gonna lash out in different areas of your life. If you start cutting all these calories, cutting all these sugars, you'd be exactly as you were speaking about the bodybuilding analogy. You become lethargic, you become angst. If you have a job, if you have children, you have people that rely on you, and you have to interact with people on a daily basis, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to remain around you whilst you go through this huge behaviour change.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I remember the last time I competed on the bodybuilding stage. I took the week off work beforehand because of the job that I do and the fact that I have to drive to work and so on and so forth. And potentially having an imbalance in a constant level of positive mental health during that last week. It was easier just to take the time off work and relax. So eat, train, sleep, eat, train, sleep, eat, train, sleep.
Lift, eat, sleep, repeat. It's still
absolutely. And then
don't we?
Get used to daytime TV for a little while, and then it's showtime, and then
Bit of loose women.
bit of loose women. Yeah.
Is that the TV or is that something else? Sorry, I'm jumping all over subjects.
So we spoke about nutrition and really the scientific approach and all that sort of thing. But for our everyday listener, what's the 3 tips you would give them to put into place right now and lose weight?
Okay, so
Lose weight or lose fat?
Let's go both. Lose weight and lose fat. So
Okay,
the 2 different approaches.
depending what the individual wants to do. I mean, losing weight is fairly easy, but if you don't want to lose muscle mass, then it's not easy.
Yeah.
So in terms of losing body mass, people just shifting a few pounds to make themselves a little bit lighter, look a little bit better, clothes fit better, make them function at a higher level, then I would look at their activity throughout the day, and I would depending on when they were most active, I would front load the day with the high level of nutrients, so high proteins, carbs, a little bit of fats in the morning, and then taper that off towards the evening when they become less active. So whether it's a desk job or whether it's out on a building site, for example, when they get home, they're going to be less active unless they're going to go to the gym, for example. So you don't need those calories at night. You need those calories in the morning, during the day, when you're actually active. So let them front load them, let the body use the fuel that you're putting in
throughout the day.
And then taper them off at night so that they're not sitting. Because if you don't use the fuel, a lot of it is wasted, a lot of it is stored as fat.
Do you think the Western world has gotten that completely reversed? Because you speak to most people, they'll either have a small breakfast or they'll have no breakfast. I don't eat breakfast. I'm not a breakfast person.
Yeah, most
I've got
important meal of the day.
got my little packed lunch just here in a very small box, which has got slightly bigger than perhaps their breakfast. And when's the big meal?
Yeah, night time.
The big meal comes at night time.
But
and you say, what are you doing after your meal? You're going to become sedentary for 8 to 10 hours. You're going to eat a massive amount, not massive, you're going to eat the largest amount of your day. Your intake for calories is going to be then. And then you're going to be sat for 8 to 10 hours. You're going to go sleep.
I mean, I was one of those people. I was that person that would get up and not have breakfast.
Yeah.
I couldn't face breakfast. I couldn't face eating early in the morning. So the way that I got around it was I got up earlier.
Yeah.
So that I was up, and then I could do sort of my admin, get myself ready, have a breakfast. So I'll have 2 breakfasts now. I'll have a breakfast at home, and then I will drive to work and I'll have another breakfast.
I'm the same. My first one's about 4 a.m., then I train about 4:30, and then I have another one straight after.
So I
snacking
will
as
do
we
that,
speak now.
and then depending on my activity during the day, I eat all my meals, my big meals before heavy activity, and if I've had a heavy day at work, I will have a heavy meal in the evening, and I will probably have another one as well, because I know what the next day's got in store. So those calories, it's calories in, calories out.
Yes.
It is as simple as that.
And for people that do miss, because I think you're not alone there, I think a lot of members of the public do skip breakfast. We're not damming down on intermittent fasting. So people talk about intermittent fasting and is it good, is it bad? Where I see intermittent fasting is effectively a method of calorie deficit anyway. It's just a different way of doing it. People feel differently about whether it's heavy or not, whether it's healthy, or not. But you're still creating a deficit. If you're trying to lose weight, intermittent fasting works for me, that's fine. But it's not necessarily the intermittent fasting that works. It's the fact that you're removing a meal. So you're removing, if they're all even, you're removing a third, but you're probably removing a fifth, given you have your larger meals later on during the day. And you're still trying to create a deficit. You perhaps don't realize that's what you're consciously doing, but it's still the same analogy as you've spoken about, calories in, calories out. But what's your thoughts on people that intermittent fast?
Right, okay, so I do struggle with it sometimes, but there is a period in someone's life, if they constantly intermittent fast and it's regimented, that it will actually work for them. If you have people who go to various clubs that
we know they are,
and say that I guarantee you to lose this and lose that, I do struggle with that, because what in actual fact happens is you will eat your regular meals or whatever is part of your normal diet, then you will cut some stuff out and your body will react to that. Your body will be thinking, hang on a minute, why are they not putting this fuel into me? Why are they not putting this fuel into me? So the next time you put the fuel in, your body will hold on to some of it, because they're like, the body tries to survive, it tries to hold on, it goes into starvation mode or survival mode, depends how you look at it, and it will hold a little bit back for a rainy day because it doesn't know when you're
like a camel.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's the analogy that it lives in an area, it lives in a place that's...
I'm not going to call any of my clients camels.
Doesn't matter what sex we're talking about there, but a camel lives in a landscape where it knows there's not a lot of water, so physiologically it has the ability to hold it, because it never knows when it's next. I always think the reason we're, as a species, as humans, live everywhere all over the planet with the most prolific animals, because we're so adaptive. And as you speak there, if you tell your body and it starts to learn that you're slowly going to increase the time between water intake, it's going to be able to hold more. It's
Yeah.
going to adapt itself. Same way if you go in a really cold climate, the first week or two you go, this is really cold.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, your body might create a bit more hair. You might naturally hold a bit more fat.
Yeah.
Your body will adapt. Same as the reason we live in a hot culture. You know, we live everywhere, all over the planet because we're so adaptive.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I was getting ready for a competition, for a powerlifting competition, and at the end of March, which was cancelled due to COVID, and I was 89.88 kilos on the day that I should have weighed in. I'm now about 94 kilos, and
You look terrible.
I look softer, and I can see where my body is storing that extra energy.
Yeah.
I can see it now.
Yeah.
And that's only 8-9 weeks ago or something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I did. Admittedly, there were things that I had been saving up since Christmas to eat after the competition.
I know your family makes lovely flapjacks
Yeah,
as well.
flapjacks.
Your girls.
Toblerone. A friend of mine brought me a Toblerone, which was 26,000 calories.
You know,
so all that sort of stuff.
I've had some of your wife's flapjack. That's pretty incredible stuff. You know, I think she's got a book coming out at some point.
Yeah, that's my little girl. She makes it all most of it. But yeah, I mean, it's all relative, and it's about being able to transition from one state to another. I think with these, I'm comfortable with where I don't look at myself now and think, oh my God, you're a mess. You need to do something about this quickly. I know that.
That's a personal standard, though. You wouldn't allow yourself to get to that position because you've got those standards.
People can. I mean, the biggest thing that how I tell people what I tell particularly female clients to use as a point of reference is to stay away from the scales, because muscle weighs heavier than fat. But pick an item of clothing that they want to wear, and then try that on every 3/4 weeks, and then see then how it fits, and that will be the way to measure level of success. You know, not the scales.
Totally agree. I do measurements and visuals with my clients
That's
because
also goal setting as well, isn't it?
Yeah. The scales they can be so toxic. You know, they can really, really control somebody's life. And they go, oh, I've put on a kilo. A kilo, as Rich is just saying there, you can put on a kilo of water, really easy.
It's a pint, isn't it?
You know, but even we're talking about female clients. Chemically, when they're at different stages during the month, it can fluctuate in different ways in terms of inflammation and the sheer just weight of the body's mass. And again, it becomes so destructive for them to step on the scales, and they feel like they're being punished for doing the right thing. And when your personal motivations can perhaps be more delicate, they can be so quickly swept aside when this isn't working. This isn't working.
Yeah, but the good thing about being an honest coach or an honest PT is that if your client trusts you, you can have these conversations with them about, for example, where are you on your monthly cycle?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, let's consider this and consider that, and then you put things into context for your client, and then if you set them on the right pathway mentally, then usually physically they will follow. You know,
absolutely.
And you know, we all want to change things in our bodies constantly, and we all do it for health reasons. Some might even do it, you know, because of pressure from their partner, and
some of it's internal, some's external.
But ultimately, there is in everybody. There's a level of vanity. You know, we do it because we want to look different or better or younger or whatever it is.
We attach a lot of self-worth to our aesthetics in this culture, and we're only being trained to do so more with things such as social media. And obviously you have a young daughter similar age to mine, and it's in fact Rich as well, you've got young girls as well. It's a strange place to think what the pressures will be like then, and whether or not they're going to be mentally prepared with the tools to tackle those big pressures in society, because I think there are a lot greater pressures now than perhaps there was when I was a child.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter came home from school many months ago, and it was around about the time where schools were suggesting they were going to start weighing children for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And she weighed herself, and she got upset because she was X amount of kilos. When in actual fact, I weighed her, and I've got two sets of scales, and one set are very, very accurate, and one set are almost accurate. So they're about a kilo out.
Yeah.
But my accurate ones are bang on. And she was at the high end of the weight range for her age. But she rides horses.
Yeah.
She is strong. She's a strong upper body. She's strong arms, strong core. her body mass is what it needs to be to ride horses, and she looks fantastic.
BMI is a scary thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know that, because I used to play various different sports, and I've always had a fair bit of muscle mass as I've been an adult. But even as I stand now, I've lost 6 stone.
Yeah,
I would still be considered obese.
yeah, I am.
Absolutely, put me on the BMI. But to look at you physically, so we know that girl was fit and healthy. And when you speak about things like riding and stuff like that, my wife and my daughter ride, and my wife's got beautiful legs. She's got strong calves, strong thighs, stuff. Not huge, but she holds mass on her legs, and she's probably never going to lose that. That's why I always say to her, focus on the way you feel and the way you look. If you want to lose fat, let's go with measurements. Not that she does or she needs to now. She looks incredible, but she will hold muscle because that's the nature of her lifestyle. You see some people trying to lose, when we spoke about losing weight versus losing fat, people that just want to lose weight can get very emaciated. They can look very, very gaunt.
That's like, through your hobby, though, your body's been built for purpose, hasn't it?
Yes,
If you
absolutely.
see someone digging all day, every day, they have
people
big
that work
shoulders,
out
don't
on
they?
building sites and stuff like that. I've got some of the fantastic core strength.
That was
and
one
there'll
of,
always
the,
be.
one of the biggest downfalls with particular sets of scales and body mass indicator scales, because the electronic ones work on impedance. So depending on how much fluid you've got in your body at any one time, depending on where you are on your monthly cycle, and so on and so forth,
Yeah.
your reading will be completely different.
Yeah.
So again, it's not something that I would ever use without a fairly serious discussion about the relevance of it all.
Yeah.
If I was going to measure a person and use that as a type of measurement, it would be on the same day of the same the following month at the same time after the same level of activity, so that we could gain an understanding of
You've got to get a baseline from somewhere. But if you really want to do it at that level, you're best off going. I mean, Loughborough University is not far from here. Going into some of the bod pods there and having your bloods tested. If you're going to go to that depth, which realistically, if people are honest, it's not what they're trying to achieve. Because I often say to people, I want to lose weight. Okay, you don't want to lose weight and you don't want to start off on a bad foot. But I say, okay, if you lost 2 stone and looked exactly the same, would you be happy? Well, no, I want to, I want to lose fat, I want to look better. Yeah. Okay, so if you weighed exactly the same, but you lost a lot of size, would you be happy? What do you mean if I look better? Yeah, if you look better. Let's forget about scales. If you look better, yeah, but I need to lose weight to do that. No, you don't. You need to lose fat. Yeah. So let's please forget about the scales. Yeah. But I go to X watchers or I go to X thing and they weigh me every week. Okay. I love the high five motivation environment that perhaps you're going to, but I believe the metric they may be comparing your worth to perhaps can create a very delicate mental state, and the fragility that they're putting some of these ladies and men through can sometimes really have a damaging effect, I believe, and that's my personal view.
You're absolutely right. I mean, one thing people can do to alleviate that and to actually not fall into that trap is pick a partner or pick a buddy or significant other, whatever it is, someone in the family, and embark on that journey with someone else, so that the comparisons and the highs and lows and the tips, everything is shared just with someone else, and it's not a money making machine, and there's no pressure, and if they decide to have a day off, for example, a sporadic night out, it doesn't matter. No. They're both in it together. That's the sort of thing that will...
You start leveraging a lot of accountability there as well. Accountability is enormous, personally, publicly, do you know what I mean? To make that, drive that stake into the ground, say, I'm going to do this. John, I said 6 o'clock this morning. I'm hoping at 6:05, if I'm not there, it's not going to be me rolling over in the bed going, ram it, not interested. My phone will start vibrating. John will be like, dude, I'm outside. What's the crack? And I will thank you later.
Something you mentioned earlier, consistency. It's all about structure and discipline, isn't it? But when someone is trying to lose fat or say lose weight, there's going to come a point where they're going to really, really want that, that cream cake or something. I mean, let's be honest. How do you combat that? So when you get to a point, especially if you're training for so many weeks and you're really craving that little bit of sugar or whatever, would you have a little bit, or would you? How do you get by that?
Okay, so I've got 2 trains of thought on that, and I manage that environment or that situation 2 different ways. A few weeks ago, we were in a coffee shop, and my little girl had this huge piece of chocolate cake, and I'm there with my coffee with no sugar. And she asked me if I wanted some. I said no, don't want any. And then there was a little bit left at the end of the day, if you like, or the end of the plate. And she said, "Do you want it?" And so I had it.
Yeah,
and that's fine. But I gain strength from turning things away.
Mm.
And people will always say to me, "Oh, I don't know how you can do it." And it's easy. I can do it because you can't.
Yeah.
And that is why I do
There's
things.
a win there.
You know, that is why I do it. I do this because you can't.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm 54. You're 25. I look the way I look. You look the way you look.
Mm.
Okay. And it's about that. That's a little win for me.
Standards.
And
Yeah.
I like the fact that if I want to have that cake, I will eat that cake.
Mm.
If I want to have another bit, I will have another bit. But I know what I need to do on the back of having that cake.
Because you've forged that mental steel over so many years. It's like a light switch.
Yeah.
People struggle because I say to people, it's never the trip that ruins them. It's the turmoil. It's the spiral afterwards. Because you can think, oh, you had a little piece of cake, you tripped up. Yeah, okay, I did or didn't trip up. It was a conscious decision. It's whether or not after that I go, oh my God, it's all out the window. Right, I'm going to have 7 pizzas today. It's a little bit like I've got a small crack in the edge of my phone. If I drop my phone on the floor and crack it, I'm not going to go, right, that's it. I'm just going to smash it to death and throw it down the stairs. And then you go, oh my damn, right, I've got a small chip. Let me make sure that doesn't happen again by being a bit more conscious. But you've developed that mental steel. And I'm completely in the same mindset as yourself, where you can just flick it like a light switch.
But people do. They have, and I see it on social media all the time, where they're on a program, if you like, or they're on a pathway, and then they slip off of it. So because they've slipped off, they just write the day off.
Oh,
and they go whole hog into whatever, fast food or whatever it is. And I kind of just think, I understand it to a point, but you've only had that minor slip. You haven't fallen and broken your leg. You've just had a minor slip. You've tripped over.
Yeah.
Let's not take the whole hog, dislocate the hip and find yourself in hospital. Let's just rewind, reorg, and then move on. Okay, yeah, you've had your chocolate, or you've had your few chips out of your kid's plate, or whatever it is.
Now, John, your mentality and way of thinking is obviously very, very disciplined and structured. We just spoke about that cake then. So if you were to have that little bit of cake, would that be just for you to, you know, feel good, or would you then go away and train harder, or the next day reduce calories even more, or how? I understand what you were saying about that, but just for yourself, if you were to eat that, would you then go, right, I'm now going to train even harder over the next 12 or 24 hours?
No, I don't look at it like that. I look at things that I've got a start point and I've got an end point, and I need to reach the end point. And you will have ups and downs. You know, you will have times where you stray, or, you know, if I've got, you know, a chicken breast which should be 260 grams, it might only be 250, and so on and so forth. So I don't weigh everything out anymore. I know roughly what something should look like, and it could be thereabouts. But the energy that I expend the following day will be based upon the calories I consumed the day before.
Of course, yeah.
And I will always challenge myself, and I'm very much of the mind that if I'm going to do something, I need to do it properly. Okay, I've been into the gym, I've done a set, things haven't been working, the music's been crap, and I've just left.
Yeah.
Because it's just not working. Or I've gone in the gym and things are rocking and rolling and everything is just on point, and I'll do that little bit extra.
You've got to seize that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like seizing that moment. So yeah, I had that cake. So what? Okay, it's not a big thing. It's not a habit. It's not that I'm going to have that cake every day.
Do you know what's a big thing that I feel about that moment as well, though? Because I spoke to a client about this not 2 days ago. In that moment there, let's think back about the moment. You weren't there alone. I'm not saying we're not blaming your daughter. You were there with your daughter.
Yeah.
Now, what was John doing right there? Was John eating cake? Okay, John was eating cake. What else was happening? John was sharing a moment with his daughter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a friend of mine said, oh, you know, we're on lockdown, blah, blah, blah. It's a client of mine. I do a lot of baking with the girls. I said, fine. Absolutely fine. I said, so when you're baking with the girls and you've made flapjack like you do with your daughter, John, have a piece of flapjack. Yeah. Fantastic. Because what you're doing there is you're sharing a moment with your children. But where you've got to have that personal accountability is when they go to bed at 7 o'clock, and you've got your head in the fridge and your legs are sticking out the other end and you're 6 flapjacks deep. Whoa. We've lost a little bit of reality. Yeah. It's like the person that goes, I drink with friends. And you go, yeah, there's no friends here though, Sally. And you're 3/4 of the way through that bottle of red. So hang on a minute. What's going on? It's, so you wouldn't, you went into the coffee shop by yourself. You'd have had a black coffee.
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
a bottle of water. You know, if you'd have been massively hungry, you'd have tried to attempt some sort of oat biscuit, something, whatever like that. But that moment there, I always say to people, you shouldn't structure your nutrition, you shouldn't structure your life in a way that then alienates you from the people that are important to you. You don't want to be the person that brings your little box of food and goes, no, Mum, I can't have the Sunday roast because this is what John's written out for me, and I must have 2 pieces of broccoli and X, Y. That's not what we're talking about, and that's not sustainable because you don't want to remove yourself from the rest of your world. Plus, because 90% of the time you're going to be in charge of your own food, and you're going to be everything that goes into your mouth. It doesn't happen by accident. Nobody eats anything accidentally. You've never accidentally put anything in your face. So you need to be conscious about it. And you've taken an opportunity there. You could have had 3 pieces of cake whilst your daughter ate 1. You didn't. And you didn't share any more or less of the moment because you only had a small piece. If anything, the moment was made richer because she was able to share that with you. She wasn't made to feel bad because she was having cake. Absolutely. Daddy didn't want to enjoy it with her. You know what I mean? But when people find themselves going in there, it's what they take away from it. Do they take away, well, John says I can go into the coffee shop and have cake. No, that's not what John said. John did not say that. John said, don't alienate yourself from your children. If everybody said, we're having pizzas this weekend. Okay, great. Rich, I'll share a pizza with Rich. Yeah. I'm not going to have the 15-inch double Hawaiian meat feast with every little Mexican man standing on top of it, to myself. It's a way. Rich will. Because I might say, Rich, let's share. And he'll go, absolutely not, Pete. I don't share. We've spoken about this before. But it's about managing the situation and not letting yourself lose control, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we until very recently, we would have almost a sort of unofficial ritual on a Saturday morning where before a riding lesson we would go down to a really nice place in town and we would have a cooked breakfast, and it was really, really nice food.
Beautiful.
So I started to, we still did it, but I started to deviate from having the cooked breakfast. So she would still have a griddled sausage and bacon and poached egg with toast and what have you.
Sounds amazing.
And I migrated from that. Mind you, I would usually have 2 or 3 times that amount. So I migrated from my 2 or 3 times down to 2 times, down to 1 time, then migrated over to scrambled eggs. So I would start off with maybe 6 eggs, and then 8, then 10, then 12 eggs. So I was 10 eggs with 2 slices of toast and stuff.
Yeah.
And we're still sitting there. Yeah. And then she'd be like, "Oh, can I have a bit of your scrambled egg, Daddy?"
That's it.
So I'm now fishing through the scrambled egg to find some that I haven't put chili sauce on to give to us. So it's about sharing those moments and not letting them, or not sacrificing them for the sake of your journey.
We're the same. My son likes fried eggs. He has fried eggs. I'll have poached eggs. Yeah, he'll have it with beans on toast and his fried eggs. Daddy'll have it with spinach and maybe chopped up mushrooms or something like that. We're still sharing experience. What did you have today, guys? We had fried breakfast. Yeah. Did you? Yeah, we did. Both had fried breakfast. It was lovely. Yeah? We shared that moment. But there's so many ways to interpret it. Sometimes when I write nutrition plans for clients and they see on a Sunday morning, they see bacon and eggs and they're like, bacon and eggs? There's usually made a typo here, you know what I mean? No, we're talking about healthy fats. We're talking about proteins. We're not cooking it in masses of unhealthy, saturated and unsaturated oils, depending on how people feel about their fats. But there's a way to do it. It's not about totally removing things from your world. It's about, I always think finance is an easy analogy. You can't overspend every day. Yeah. Because the bank will soon ring you and go, "John, you're out of money.
Yeah.
Stop spending money. You're out of money." Yeah. And, people start taking your car and taking your house. When you overspend on the calories, nobody's there to tell you. Yeah. You'll tell yourself when you see yourself in the mirror in a couple of weeks and go, "Dude, you overspent. Yeah. You're in masses of debt." Yeah. But nobody's there to tell you that. You couldn't go to Disneyland every single week, nor would you want to. I think treats lose their value if you overindulge as well. People say, "I love McDonald's. I have it every day." You wouldn't have it every day. You wouldn't enjoy it.
But you look at that, and this is something that's made me sort of realise the situation that we're in as a society in this lockdown, when some things like McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken have opened up. Yeah. And people are queuing for...
Other brands are available as well.
Other brands are available, but I've seen a couple of posts. people are queuing for hours to get fast food.
Yeah.
Now I get it, I understand, and sometimes that fast food is enough just to quench that craving. But the whole ethos of fast food is you stop, you get out, you get it, you eat, and you drive away. You don't queue for hours for fast food. You might as well be at home cooking.
Something with a greater
equivalent
nutritional
of that
value.
fast food.
Yeah.
You know, you can cook a healthy burger on the barbecue with salad and what have you. So
Speaking of which, I think there's a market there for a healthy drive-through. I've thought about this millions of times. Have you ever? Could you imagine that, a place where you can literally drive through and you can get your?
I mean, there's a couple of companies have tried that.
your
I mean, you
clean
must have seen them on your
greens, your
travels.
the way to do it, I think, would be for one of these majors to introduce it.
Yeah.
The only problem is with it, I see, is perhaps the stigma attached to the supplier initially. You know, but I think there's a huge market for it. I was watching a video yesterday of a comedian, and he was talking about where he now lives in Glasgow, and there's lots of juice bars and this and that and other and so on and so forth, and they are there. I mean, the convenience of going in and having a smoothie or a healthy sandwich, or it's there, and it will be more. But to have it as a drive-through would be huge.
Have you ever? Have you always prepped your own food, or have you used food prep companies in the past?
I've never used a food prep company. I've always done my own. I like the idea of. See, my food prep starts with a meal. So I will have a meal. Let's say, for example, my meal last night. I'll have my meal last night, but I will cook so much of it that then makes up my
2 or 3 meals worth there.
my other meals. So I've never been in a situation where I thought, right, I need to prepare a week's worth of meals, and I've made them and I've not actually eaten one.
Yeah.
So I also know what goes in it. I know how it's been cooked. I know whether, for example, where the chickens come from. I know everything. That said, there have been occasions where I've not had food and I've had to stop at the supermarket, and I've gone in and I've picked something out that looks sufficient, and it's got a balance.
What's your go-tos when you have those moments where you're like, I'm caught out, I've got to head into work, or I've got a X, or I've got a Y, and I need to get something? What do you go for?
Right, so I will go for a tuna pasta dish of some description, or a prawn and pasta, just because primarily because it's bulky, and it'll fill me up. Because the worst thing for me is feeling hungry. I also have rice cakes, which are sort of my emergency first aid kit.
Always
rice cakes.
Rice cakes and oat cakes. That's what I'm all about.
4 or 5 rice cakes and a cup of water will stave off hunger, and minimal calories in rice cakes. So, but occasionally I will eat junk. I went through a phase a year or so ago where I would stop at the shop on the way home from work, and I'd buy a drink and a bar of chocolate and a packet of crisps, or 2 packets of crisps every single night.
Wow.
And then it came to an occasion where I thought, right, you need to stop this. So
how did you stop that?
Just did. I'd be driving down the road to the shops going, right, you're not going in. And then I just drive past it.
Because I know people that have changed routes to work and from work who have had similar challenges getting a takeaway from a drive-through.
No, saying you're just going to find another shop, Pete, aren't you?
And for some people it works in terms of removing that thing from their environment. So if they have a negative relationship with somebody or something like that, sometimes simply removing that from their environment. Simply like if you don't have certain food in the house,
you're not going to use it.
Out of sight, out of mind. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but like you say, there are other shops,
There will be.
It's about that. When you've not done it, when you've driven past, literally within 2 or 3 meters of being past the shop, you think, I feel good now.
Yeah, you got that win.
Yeah, it's a win. And
the craving evaporates almost instantly for me.
Absolutely, because you know that in 45 minutes or an hour, you're going to be in a nice meal.
I have a resource I often to give to clients that informs about ghrelin. Right. So the chemical ghrelin and how it moves in cycles. So your hunger hormone, ghrelin, and how it peaks and troughs and its association with hydration and things like that. So often we can feel very hungry, but a lot of the time it can be dehydrated. You have 500 ml, of water. you may find that hunger dissipate. And it's not about drinking lots and lots and lots of water and never eating anything. That's not healthy at all. But so many people walk around the world dehydrated.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, in my role in the fire service, I've always got a drink with me. I'm always trying to maintain the right fluid levels. When I say to the guys that I work with, if you feel thirsty, you're dehydrated.
Too late, yeah.
It's too late. So stay on top of it. It doesn't matter how many times you go to the toilet during the day. Just stay on top of it. Okay. If you're one of these people that only go to the toilet once a day, then
there's a problem.
we've got a problem.
Yeah.
We have got a problem. You know, I'd rather see a student of mine go to the toilet 4 or 5 times during a lesson, and stay hydrated. You know, and keep the body fluids level, the blood viscosity the same, so on and so forth. I'd like to just see that.
I think in a lot of fire services, and this may be different because we're so used to it, different from people in society who might be listening, urine charts. So, you know, you go into a lot of lavatories in the fire service and you'll see a urine chart on the wall. Now, bear in mind for people listening, it's not a target, you know, not aiming for it. It's usually at head height. So we're not encouraging anybody to
3 meters back
to get it up there. You know, this is not a challenge that we have in our toilets, just to give people an understanding. It's as you're seeing the fluid leave your body, you're able to take a quick indicator, a quick visual, and your interpretation of what you believe to be a healthy hydration level. Urine's always an easy indicator.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can have a good colour of urine before a hot fire situation, and when I come out of the hot fire situation,
yellow.
It's
crazy.
It's creosote.
Crazy.
Okay, so and an important thing on the urine charts is to make sure the urine chart is up to date and it's not a really old one, because urine charts, because of the ink they're produced with, they will fade. So don't think you're all right because the urine charts faded. I've got a funny story to talk about charts.
The bottom one's grey. Mine's not getting grey. I need to drink more water.
I saw a picture yesterday on social media. Because of social distancing in a public toilet, they put stickers on the floor on the public toilet with 2 footprints 2 meters away from a urinal, and someone's taken it on
a challenge.
That's a challenge.
Yeah, I reckon I've got that in me, that one. Watch this, fellas. Gather around. Take
That's
notes.
something I may do to you.
Yeah, I think you'd be peeling them off the floor and moving them back, Rich. You'd be like, that's like medium. You watch this, guys.
You
Step out the way.
You got to try.
But yeah, I mean, urine charts are great, and also depending on your hydration levels, it does give off an odour as well sometimes. So be conscious of that and stay on top of it.
So just to give people an understanding, because we've delved on it a little bit more there, you spent many years as an operational firefighter, but your role now has changed in the past few years.
So I've always had an instructional background, but I've been a full-time instructor since the end of 2012. So I'm the Breathing Apparatus and Tactical Firefighting lead instructor for my service.
Boom.
So the majority of my work is teaching people how to find casualties, find fires, and deal with those situations, rescue casualties, and deal with fire situations.
You're doing the fun, sexy bit that everybody wants to join the fire service
I
for.
love my job.
What do you do? I walk into fire.
Yeah.
That's kind of my daily job.
Yeah.
I love that.
So as an instructor, you're dealing with just new recruits coming through, or you're dealing with all the...
We've got about 650 guys, male and female, firefighter all the way through to chief fire officer in our brigade, and we train them all from a new never warden in a fire situation firefighter all the way through to reassessment of competence on current skill sets for existing.
It's a great leveler, I'd imagine, because as you've said there, everybody walks into that male-female ranking, no matter what. It is a true, equality and diversity environment where nobody's judged by their position or rank or level of perceived importance.
No, and I think
there's a ground expectation of this is part of the work that we do, and everyone needs to meet the standard.
I think in our service now, and it's going in the right direction. We have a rank structure like every other fire service. We have a rank structure like every other fire service, and but it's unofficially less regimented now. The people are greeted and treated the way they expect to be treated, and everybody's an equal. I think.
Is that better or worse, do you think?
On day-to-day business, it's better. On the fire ground, when someone says jump, then you jump.
You should do.
And I think on day-to-day business, I think I'm right, but within our organisation, every single person that holds a rank has been a firefighter. So
Really?
everyone has had a BA suit on the back. Everyone has gone into a house fire, so on and so forth. So everybody understands. So at some services, it's not the case. But
Very different in our service, in elements. There's, for better or worse, there's different levels in the service where we've got non-fire service personnel operating in different positions, and in many ways they can add a great deal of value from their external experiences and things like that. But again, as you were speaking about there, sometimes for some people there's a credibility aspect of we've all been there and experienced the tip of the sword. We've all walked into the fire, and sometimes if that's not the case, people can find it hard to connect with.
There's that little saying, isn't it? It's almost like you can talk the talk, but you haven't walked the walk.
And also, it's almost like you're never asking somebody to do something you're not willing to do yourself. If you've been
I'm
there
a
and
massive
done
believer on that as well. I'll never ask anybody to do anything.
No, same in the gym.
I'm
I'm not
willing
going to
to
say X burpees, X this. Same with your nutrition, John. Somebody, that sounds hard, John. Yeah, but I've been there and done it. So I'm not telling you something I've not done. I wouldn't ask you to do something dangerous.
Well, that's the same with the same mindset that I have with my clients. If whatever I do or whatever I ask my client to do, I will do. I'll just do it with them, and because I can.
Yeah.
And it's very much a case of Pager. It's very much a case of just getting involved and doing the same and leading by example, and so
it's a lot less stand and point as well. Some people think like, right now do this. We've seen those trainers in the gym sometimes who overweight, out of shape. Sometimes, not always, but they may very well let themselves get to a position. And I feel it's hard from a credibility standpoint for somebody to look at them and go, how can you say that? How can you say that? I struggle to understand sometimes how somebody can aspire to it. And I appreciate you can have the knowledge and you can help somebody without necessarily being there yourself. We use some professional sports athletes, footballers, anything like that. The individual training them does not have to have achieved international level football, international level weightlifting, powerlifting, rugby, anything like that. They can still help them. But in an industry such as the physical ones that the three of us work in, I think there has to be a big element of credibility that you have either been there or that you have a real appreciation for what you're asking somebody to do. Same as you with the BA analogy, breathing apparatus. You've been there. You're going to stand in that hot box with someone at 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 degrees. You're going to be there with them speaking about the behaviours and what it takes. You're not going to stand outside and go a bit further. I know it's warm. Just step in, sir. Go on. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I took part in a course a couple of years ago, which was called Intent-Based Leadership, and it was around I can't remember the chap's name. I think it was Marquette, who was the officer in charge of a submarine, and a very efficient submarine and what have you. And he was a very highly thought of officer, and they then moved him from his submarine,
I know
and
the
then
story.
Put him on another one, and they were due to have an inspection or something about 6 or 8 weeks later. And he didn't know anything about it. He didn't know anything about the submarine or the crew or the functionality of it and so on and so forth. And he adopted this intent-based leadership approach where he empowered those beneath him who had the skill sets to deliver what they needed to deliver.
David Marquette was the guy.
David Marquette.
Really, really interesting story.
Yeah, and it was brilliant. And I think, and we've kind of got that in our service now, to a degree, and I think that is really, really important. And it's the same in not just in your work life; it's like your home life.
Absolutely.
Like for example, yesterday, I gave my 11-year-old a few tasks to do around the house because I could have done them. I know that she's more than capable of doing it. But while she was doing those, I was carrying out some tasks that she was unable to do.
It's empowering people to do the things that, but also sometimes you can't do them. So you go back to that David Marquette analogy, and I love this way of demonstrating true leadership, and I use it myself when I attend jobs as an incident commander. If we are there with there's an electrical issue with a building, or let's use animals for example. Now I keep horses, but let's say I had no experience with animals. I go to a job where there's a bull that's been involved in an accident or it's stuck in a river or something like that. If I have an on-call firefighter on my watch who is a vet, Yeah, there's some very incredibly talented people in the fire service that perhaps aren't recognised for their skill sets simply because it doesn't live within the parameters of the fire service. Now, great leadership to me is never about having the right answers, very rarely about having the right answers. It's not about you knowing the solution. If we're in a position right now, John makes a suggestion, Rich makes a suggestion. If I were positioned as a leader position here, mine is to intake that information and trust that John is proficient in doing the job that he's explained to me. I will make the decision and I will take on the responsibility, and if it goes wrong, it will be my fault. You'll take that responsibility, but it's not for you to blindly make decisions and feel as though you have to have all of the answers. You don't have to have the answers. You have to listen to the information. You have to weigh the risk versus the benefit, and then you have to make the decision. I think some leaders that have the information but are too scared to make a decision rest on their information and go, well, I know all the things. I've read all the books. You know what? You can get away with not reading any of the books. A true leader, as you said about David Marquette there, can transition across environments and still demonstrate wonderful leadership. They don't need to know the materials. They don't need to know the minutiae of that subject matter. They simply need to be able to inspire people to do what they do best, absorb information and make a decision, and then trust that people are going to execute it. His story is a wonderful one where people have got round to his process of thinking, and he's empowered them to do what they do best. They know that ship. Anybody that's operated in the Navy, they know their vessels, they know the measurements, they know the parameters, they know the dimensions, they know everything about it. It's going to take you years to learn it. You don't need to learn it. No. You need to trust that they know what they're doing and make a decision.
Yeah, it was a great, and there's a great little YouTube video as well on it, and it's something that I visit periodically with some of the people that I visit when I'm out and about teaching. So it is good.
It's a lovely analogy for it. You mentioned leadership, and John, obviously you're an instructor. Something I'm interested in asking you. You need to be able to get the best out of people, don't you? When you're an instructor, your job is to get the best out of people. So what sort of tips and tricks of the trade, so to speak? How do you get the best of the person out in front of you? Because obviously everyone learns different, don't they?
So it varies. It varies, and it does depend on your audience, and it depends on the size of your audience. Because if you're delivering something which has got a time constraint, you have to get a lot of information across to a large group of people, and sometimes you may well have to sort of revisit certain points or reinforce certain points. So there are an awful lot of tools that I use to get messages across, if you like, and the background that I've had as an operational firefighter allows me to use analogies in a lot of the things that I'm talking about, and I use an awful lot of for examples. For example, have you thought about this? Have you remember when you were at this job, when you were at that job? So I will do an awful lot of my coaching, instructing will be theory based, and then what we then do is we take it into a practical.
Is that pulling in your life experiences from you doing the job yourself?
Everything. So there will be things that you have to cover, some nuts and bolts, some guidance parameters that we have to hit that people need to know about. But then I will look at how I evolve that into a practical session. So I will do a lot of talk through stuff. So I will almost rehearse things, let people follow my shoes, let them see how I would do it, let them see how I think, let me talk out loud, let me vocalize, almost do a commentary in what I do, so they can see how I think, and I'll talk about my rationale. Why am I doing this? Why am I looking behind this door? Why am I doing so on and so forth? Then, I will allow them their opportunity to demonstrate their skill set, and whilst observing them. And then part of the learning process is not just about the application of the acquisition of the demonstration of the new skills. It's about debriefing and then rebriefing. So what could we have done differently? Because the debrief is as important as the briefing and the demonstration, and that
some
applies
people
to
are
everything.
Reflective learners. Some people learn best from that position of reflection.
And that's in everything from a role at work to in a gym to anywhere. It could be, if someone's striking a pad, if for example their wrist is slightly twisted out, we may well be right. Okay, we'll stop there. So let's bring wrist back in line, for example. So it's about bite-sized chunks. I often use people's own understanding to allow them to evaluate their own performance.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if they've done it and they've realised, I made that mistake, or I should have done that, then
they don't need you
my
to
job's
tell
done.
them. Yeah,
My
they
job
don't
is
need you
done.
to tell them.
But if I have to tell them, if I find myself in a situation where I have to tell someone, well, you did this or you did that or you should have done this, I may well have to take a few steps back, revisit some theory input, then go through a progressive part of demonstrating again. And then, for example, we always search with the back of the hand on the wall. Never have the palm of the hand on the wall. If someone was patting the wall, I'll say, remember, keep your hand, the back of the hand on the wall. Search from 6 in the morning, 12 at night. Remember that. Okay?
Again, putting in examples of things they're familiar with.
Yeah.
Everybody knows a clock, X to Y,
exactly.
this to that.
Okay.
I love
and it's about, you might not hit the jackpot straight away, but it's about perseverance, but it's also about understanding an individual's ability and knowing when to call it a day, and then revisit it. So move away from that subject, have a tea break, have a, let's.
How much can they assimilate in that one moment before?
Are you one where if somebody is doing something wrong, do you sugarcoat it or do you just straight to the point, straight in there?
No, I'm fairly blunt, to be fair. I
think that's the best way. I am myself.
I like to.
I think.
Depending where someone is on their journey in their career or in the gym, I will get hands-on. I will help. I will guide. I will position people, or I will pieces of equipment to the point where, if for a new person in a fire environment, I may well position their body by telling them I'm going to put my hands on them, position the shoulders so that they're orientated the correct way. I will put their arm on the wall. I'll make sure you keep your hand. You keep your hand on the wall. But as they've gone through their fire service career, if I've got an experienced 25-year time served firefighter who keeps coming off the wall, for example, I won't even say anything to them until the debrief. Because they should know better. Okay, and invariably, by not landmarking, by coming off the wall, they will make other mistakes. They will miss doors. They will miss various things. So, and that will teach them more than me.
If you'd have caught them in the moment and gone, hand on the wall, okay, X, Y, Z. Sometimes in a safe environment like that, it serves more, as you said there, to let them walk a bit further, and make those few mistakes. You're not going to let somebody walk off the edge of a cliff. You're not going to let them walk straight into the fire.
In the right around.
Same with yourself, Rich. If you've said to somebody 2 or 3 times, keep your hand up, keep your hand up. Okay, now I'm going to tag you. I'm going to tag you 2 or 3 times, and it might sting. But that may help you quicker to learn it. John, I love what you said about using similarities and giving them stories. The storytelling side, I think I see that most in a lot of leaders, even so far back, and our religious buffs listeners will think the same. Jesus Christ, he was a storyteller. He taught through stories. He would tell the story of this, the story of that, and through that there would be, and I'm not religious by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a wonderful way, and I think even people that believe they aren't religious will use that very same technique. And you'll say, use the back of your hand when you search through a wall. Let me tell you the story about the guy that electrocuted himself to death after he grabbed hold of a cable and was unable to release it until the life had passed out of him. We use those stories because it's so much more powerful. It's a bit like when you see charities saying, 10,000 orphans have died in XYZ. People go, oh, okay, 10,000, it's just a number. There's no emotional connection. But if you go, let me tell you about little Sam. Let me tell you about Sam who has to walk 15 miles every day to get 1 cup of poisonous water to feed to his daughter that's got 2 legs and no arms. You know what I mean? The story is far more powerful than the lesson itself sometimes. And a lot of people can only take it on through that. We talk about learning styles again. The way you use that storytelling one, I think is fantastic. I think it's a really recognised one among many leaders.
I mean, we're in a bit of a situation now with this virus where people have become blasé. I think, I know we're not here to talk about it, but they stick the numbers up of how many deaths.
You become immune to it.
And then there's not really the impact because you see the amount of people that are out, socialising and so on at at beaches and whatever at the weekend. But if they had a bit more of a dramatic impact, then people would do less. I think.
And if it becomes personal as well, I think I agree with you, and I use the idea of when we're driving around operationally, blue lights, sirens are blaring. How many people have become immune to that? How many people hear the siren? Oh, yeah, and they don't get out of the way. Yeah. They just don't move because they hear sirens all day long. Yeah. Now, if their house was on fire, how aware do you think they would be if they were standing out on their driveway going, I'm listening for the siren, I'm listening, it's coming, it's coming. Somebody run to the end of the street and wave them. Somebody make sure that car gets out of the way. John, move out of the way. Susan, get out of the way. The fire service are coming through. The ambulance are coming through. The police are coming through. It's really important. Whereas sometimes we come across them in society when we're driving down, trying to make access down a motorway or something like that.
They just don't want to know, do they?
They just don't want to know. You are an inconvenience. You're in my way. Who do you think you are? I'm here. I have the right to use the road. I'm trying to save somebody's life. Yeah. If this was your daughter, if this was your husband, if this was your aunt, uncle, if it was personal to you, how important would it be? It'd be the most important thing going on. But we become so immune to it. And you use the example of the environment we're in now. For those people out there, and our thoughts go out to you, who are losing or have lost somebody to this illness, or perhaps they were already struggling with an illness, it makes it much more personal. And you see those passionate outcries in social media where somebody has been affected personally by something and how their attitude can change.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same in all walks of life, isn't it? We talk about in our jobs about the importance of cleanliness and hygiene and decontaminating and so on and so forth. We've lost, brothers and sisters to CV-19 across the world. We lose firefighters and line of duty deaths because of heart-related conditions with the highest cancer attrition rate of all occupations. It does hit home.
And I think we've, to finish on a different note, John, we see that in the brothers and sisters in the NHS as well. So we recently took part in a bit of a challenge because the fire service, police, ambulance officers of the law, prison officers and everything, we all appreciate the work that you do on the front line, but I think every service would perhaps tip their hat at the moment to the work that's going on in the NHS. I'm only speaking personally, but the challenges they're facing versus the effect it's had on some areas of the fire service, they're really going above and beyond. And we took part in an event recently, John.
Yeah, we did,
For a 1948 challenge. Tell us how that went.
Yeah, that was, it was interesting. It was, I can't remember how it started.
I can't remember how we got around to it, to be honest.
I think we were just having a bit of a chat on WhatsApp, I think, and then we talked about, I think you talked about you're going to do a 1948 challenge, and most of the people in the fire service that I know, certainly the guys that are involved in the British Firefighter Challenge, have been doing 1948 of something to try and raise a few pounds for the NHS. And I think you brought up about pulling a vehicle, Pete, and then it was, well, what vehicle do you think? And you popped up with ambulance, and then followed up straight away with, do you fancy it? before
how long did you need to think about it?
I didn't. I said, yeah, because why not?
Because you said it right at the beginning of our chat today, mate, about setting new challenges, and having spent some time with you at different competitions and stuff like that. I know you're always hungry for that. Yeah, what's next? Come on. Yeah, but it's going to be tough. Yeah, I know. Point me in the right direction and press play. Yeah.
You two did a great job. Obviously, you created a lot of awareness, but I believe you ended up on BBC News as well, didn't you? Yeah,
it was on BBC website, and it was also on certainly my local news as part of what are people doing to raise awareness.
BBC East Midlands made it through there as well.
Raise a few pounds. And when we did the challenge, there were a few people that came to watch, and a lot of people exercising their dogs and so on and so forth at the area where they were doing it because of social distancing. But a lot of people saw what we were doing and sort of asked, and while we could speak, we spoke. Towards the end,
because we had speed bumps and hot days and fire kit and all sorts of hurdles to overcome. For anybody that's not aware, the 1948 was when the NHS first started, and when they started providing free healthcare, first time I think globally that they were providing free healthcare for citizens, and we benefit from that every day in the UK, whether we acknowledge it or not. And in this moment of time, John and I decided to take some of our skill sets and our passion for pushing ourselves physically and try and replicate and try and live a little bit of the pain that we believe some of our brothers and sisters in the NHS are going through. So it was a one thing, out in the middle of nowhere, but it was our small way of tipping our hat to colleagues in the emergency services. And I truly, truly enjoyed it. We've been discussing some challenges that may lay ahead of us, and I know John's got lots of things in his bag. He's got lots of little things in his pockets that he's always working on. So stay tuned, and hopefully we're going to see some big things coming.
Well, we did say if we raised the target amount, we'd do the same with the fire engines. So
absolutely, and the page is still open. I mean, if we hit 5K, myself and John, whether it takes us 2 hours or 2 weeks, we will commit to pulling that fire engine tooth and nail, inch by inch, for that 1948, if the appetite's out there.
Yeah.
Wonderful. John, thank you very much for coming in today, brother. It's been emotional.
Yeah, John, it's been great meeting you, and we've had some fantastic stories shared. So I look forward to the show being released.
Absolutely, and I think there's so much stuff we've not been able to delve into. So maybe in a few months' time, we'll have you back, and you'll tell us about your next adventure. Take care, brother. We'll see you soon. Thanks for checking out the Firefighters Podcast this week. Make sure you check out the YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram pages, keeping yourself up to date with the latest podcast as it comes out. We'll see you guys soon.